You feeling a little bit isolated, maybe a little bit lost? You want to ask for help, you don't know how, or maybe you've asked for help and you've had some bad experiences in the past. Well, I wanted to talk about a certain viewpoint on this today and how you can start going out and getting the people that you need support from. And if you stay until the very end, I have a final point on this podcast for you as well. As always, if you want to request any specific topics for this podcast, you can contact me on social media. Links are below in the show notes, or you can leave a comment in the podcast as well about what you would like me to talk more about. Okay, right. I'm going to talk about this particularly around in the mental health area, and it's been Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, which is great. I'm talking about mental health in general as a piece. It's talks about like, don't keep it quiet. I know men are called out a lot, and I can see why, because I've been guilty of it myself, and knowing lots of other men as well, that we don't open up enough, as human beings, particularly as men are identified not to open up as much. Whatever gender though, I think you can keep it quiet. And the encouragement is to open up and talk about how you're feeling. If you're not feeling good, go out and share with other people. Now, often what I find is there's a lot of fear around it, and I've certainly experienced that in my life. And I had down moments, particularly in 2018. Right, I had a really really tough job. I was struggling in a new city. Fortunately, I was mugged at one point. I had struggles in my dating life, and I didn't really. I kind of bottled it, and I wasn't feeling so good. And then it wasn't. Unfortunately, I had some great people I work with, and it's not always the case. And that's why I've created this episode. I had some great people who then just offered to support me and noticed I was a little bit down, and I was able to open up a little bit more, and that really really helped me. And that's great. And I'm all for definitely opening up when you're struggling. The side I want to talk about is I've also had people when they like offered to talk to me, or maybe I thought they'd just be someone to talk to, and I shared something with them and I felt utterly rejected, and I was like, I should not have talked to them, right? And it's made me feel a lot worse. Maybe you can relate to this. And then I've also had like coaches and therapists who made me feel pretty good afterwards. Now, what I want to share is we often have this fear of rejection and not being lovable, and I feel like that can come out if we like share how we really are, and we're like, oh, what if we share how we're really feeling and people don't like us? And that's where I think for me the fears come from. And I also think that can be activated if you speak to the wrong person, even if it's not consciously said. Sometimes subconsciously picking up on their energy and how much attention they're giving you can actually impact you. I believe we're energetic human beings as well. So actually sharing sometimes with someone who's not, there can be well-intentioned individuals who's not got that capacity to listen to us or hold space for us, and they just want to give their own bias and their own advice, can actually be quite damaging. So I'm going to talk about actually opening up to the right people today. Now, how is it helping you by being stuck in your own head? Probably not so good, because I'd been stuck in my own head and kind of like, how do I reach out? Oh, I shared with someone, didn't work. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. So the first thing I'm going to suggest to you is, and I want to be very clear actually before I dive into this, like, I'm definitely encouraging people to reach out to someone if they need support, right? That's what I'm saying to you if you're struggling right now. I'm being very clear on that. I'm not saying don't reach out. Because I think it's just worse keeping it to ourselves. I'm suggesting this from my personal experience, that just be aware of who you're reaching out to. And I'm going to go through guidance on this because I really want to make you feel like you're supported in this episode, whoever you reach out to. So the first one is list people who genuinely make you feel good, make you feel safe. Now, I'm going to be honest, like, I do appreciate sometimes I've heard people, even on recent seminars and things I've been on, say like, I don't really know who I can reach out to. Not that it was about like mental health. It sometimes was, I've been on like money workshops, all sorts of things. I'm always educating myself. There's somewhat people like, oh yeah, I'm looking for like support financing for something, and they're like, I've not really got anyone to reach out to or talk to, and then you kind of realize some people are just a little bit alone. So I do appreciate that some people may struggle with this one, like list people who feel good and safe. Just really put your intention to find that as much as possible in your life. Now, if you're struggling, there are always helplines. There's always free helplines, things like in the UK, Samaritans, who are trained professionals to speak to you for free. I mean, if you can hire a professional like a therapist or a coach, that's really even more beneficial as well. But there are free helplines if you really feel like you want to speak to someone and they're trained to actually listen and hold the space for you. I found people when I would share, like I've had people close to me and I've shared something. I was like, look, I'm really struggling with this, and this. And they're like, it'll be okay, mate. This is what I do, and it's just like they're not holding space. So yeah, there's always helplines, but just think of the people who make you feel good and safe. And I've had people, fortunately, in my life that if I reach out, they will listen. So the second thing I'm going to say is on that, if someone's like, I'll talk to you, and like you don't feel comfortable with them, recognize it's okay to say no and say something like this. Look, I am going through a little bit of a challenge. And if it's okay, I'm going to process it and talk to someone about this. But I'm not ready to share this with you at that stage. I hope that's okay. I just need to process and talk it through with them. Now, if someone's comfortable in their own skin, they're not going to mind at all. If someone gets upset, remember, we're talking about your mental health here and your self-love, your self-esteem. So it's okay to say, no, look, I'm having a bit of a tough time, but I'm talking to this other person, right, about it. And I may share or may choose to share or not share something. It's okay to say no to people. Like I've had people say, I'm here to talk, and I'm like, they don't push it, but I'm very good at being like, it's okay, no thank you. To be honest, in my life, they don't usually question it. If I just say no thank you, appreciate you reaching out, or say much more. But I know who's good at listening and actually will hold the space, from speaking to lots of people. And I'm someone who's really always trying to build those skills because I want to do the same for others as well, to hold space and be a true listener, not just intellectually hearing someone, but being on a deep level with them. And then the third one I want to share with you is, and this is not about being alone, because loneliness is a struggle, but reducing the feeling of loneliness and abandonment often I found is developing a relationship with yourself. Because if you love yourself and you love your own company, well, when I've been in those places, I've not felt that. I've not felt loneliness or aloneness. I always feel like I'm with myself or my inner child. So what I would encourage is finding time to just walk with yourself in silence every day. I do this for 30 minutes, and what it allows me to do is I sometimes ask questions of myself and I come up with answers, but that really allows me to connect with me, and therefore I can give myself the support as well. So it's not keep just doing that one, but it's a really good thing to do alongside the other things I've shared. Now, I want to just finish with a final point. I want to mention again, though, that if you want a particular podcast topic, all you got to do is connect with me on social media and send me a message. If not, leave a comment in the podcast. Yeah, so what I would say is, as my final point, is listening to stories can really inspire you as well. Like listening to other people who have gone through challenges. I mean, when I've been very low, I've listened to other guys sharing their story. Even people like Brendan Bichard, one of the top high performance specialists on the planet, alongside my mentor I work for, and he was in a real bad place. And I remember just listening to him on YouTube, and that helped me. Listening to other people's stories can be really effective. And then, of course, when you're listening to that, reaching out to people who feel good. That's obviously the final point I want to share with you as well. So, and that was just a recap of our first one as well, that final bit. bit then I shared. So I appreciate you for being here, and remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.